Hello everyone, welcome to my channel. I hope everyone is having a wonderful day. The bright lights of the Good Morning Britain studio had always been a second home to Ben Shephard. His laughter, his warmth, his quick-witted charm, all of it filled the space each morning. But on this particular Thursday, something felt off. The air was heavier, and even his ever-present smile seemed strained. Ben brushed it off as fatigue. He had been pushing himself too hard, juggling charity work, filming commitments, and family time with his beloved wife, Annie, and their 2 boys. Just one more day, he told himself as he straightened his tie in the mirror. Then I'll rest. The cameras rolled. The show began as usual, cheerful chatter, headlines, and the comfortable rhythm of live television. But midway through a light-hearted segment, Ben's hand trembled as he reached for his mug. The room spun. He blinked, trying to steady himself, but the edges of his vision darkened. Then, without warning, Ben crumpled to the studio floor. Chaos erupted. Crew members rushed forward, shouts filled the air, and someone screamed for the medic. Viewers at home never saw it. The cameras had swiftly cut to commercial, but inside the studio, panic pulsed like electricity. Within minutes, an ambulance was called. Paramedics worked swiftly, their voices calm but urgent. Ben was pale, barely conscious, his usually lively eyes glazed over. "Low blood pressure," one muttered, checking his pulse. Another whispered, "Possible cardiac event." When Annie's phone rang, she was in the middle of preparing lunch. She almost didn't pick up until she saw the caller ID, ITV Newsroom. "Mrs. Shephard," the voice said gently, "Ben's been taken to hospital." The world froze. The knife fell from her hand, clattering to the floor. What happened?" she stammered, but the voice offered only a blur of words. Collapse, paramedics, stable for now. By the time she reached St. Thomas Hospital, flashing cameras had already gathered outside. Reporters shouted her name, questions slicing through the air like knives. "Annie, is Ben okay? Was it a heart attack?" She ignored them, clutching her coat tighter, her face pale but determined. Inside, the sterile smell of antiseptic hit her like a wave. A nurse led her down the corridor, every step echoing louder than the last. When she finally saw Ben, pale, hooked up to monitors, but breathing, her composure shattered. She sank to his side, taking his hand in both of hers. "Ben," she whispered, tears blurring her vision, "you scared me half to death." He opened his eyes, faintly smiling. "Guess I finally got that day off," he joked weakly, his voice barely above a whisper. Annie laughed through her tears, pressing her forehead against his. "You idiot," she said softly. "You don't get to scare me like that. Not you." The doctor soon explained it wasn't a heart attack, but severe exhaustion and dehydration, a dangerous combination from overwork and stress. "Your body's been giving you warnings for weeks," one doctor said. This time, it just couldn't keep up. For the next few days, Ben stayed in the hospital under observation. Fans flooded social media with messages of support. #GetWellSoonBen trended for 2 straight days. His colleagues at ITV sent flowers and heartfelt notes, and even competitors from other networks reached out. But for Annie, nothing mattered except the quiet rise and fall of his chest beside her. She held his hand through sleepless nights, replaying every moment of the past years, the laughter, the chaos, the time she told him to slow down, and he brushed it off. On the 3rd morning, Ben finally sat up, color returning to his cheeks. "I think I've scared enough people for one lifetime," he said softly. Annie smiled, brushing a strand of hair from his forehead. "Then promise me something," she whispered. "When you go back, you take it easy. No more pretending to be invincible." He squeezed her hand, eyes glistening. "I promise." Outside, the city hummed as usual. Cameras, headlines, the rush of life. But inside that hospital room, everything slowed down. For once, Ben Shephard wasn't the smiling face of morning television. He was just a man who had almost lost everything, and a woman who loved him enough to remind him what truly mattered. And as Annie laid her head on his shoulder, she whispered, "Next time you want attention, love, just send flowers." He laughed, and it was the sweetest sound she'd ever heard.